Hi, everyone. This is Eric D'Souza as we continue our series of interviews with members of Crime Writers of Canada who have been shortlisted for an Awards of Excellence in 2023. So joining me today is Blair Keetch. How are you today, Blair?
Very good, Eric. And how are you?
Oh, I'm good too. The sun outside's still shining and the weather's great. And you're nearing the end of my series of interviews. So I'm seeing the finish line. I'm very happy.
There's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes, I see the light. Well, let's start with the introduction a little bit. Blair, this is the second interview I've done with you. I try not to ask the same questions. So for everyone else watching this, I'll put a link in both Facebook and YouTube in the description. And if you'd like to, you can click onto that link and see our first interview. But for those of you out there who don't know Blair, let's just do a quick bio. Ever since he was young, Blair has been an avid fan of mystery books, from everything from Christie to Connelly, which you mentioned both those names last time in the interview, so you're definitely a fan. His checkered work history includes roles as an airline project manager, overseer as a pet event center, and promoter of Ontario tourism. In his words, reaching middle age, he realized that he could no longer resist the siren call of writing and again picked up the pen. His short story, Contrapuntal Duet, was in the 2019 winner for Emerging Crime Writer. And since then, his short stories have been in a dozen anthologies, or about a dozen or so anthologies, some of them including Crime Writers of Canada's Cold Canadian Crime, and recently in or pretty much in all of the Mesdames of Mayhem anthologies, including Kumiho, In the Spirit of 13, which has been nominated for Best Crime Short Story, sponsored by Mystery Magazine. I guess I can't help resist but ask, what is a Kumiho?
A Kumiho is part of a Korean legend or Korean folklore, where a nine-tailed fox disguises itself as a beautiful woman, and this woman is sort of wiles her way into the life of someone, usually a man, and usually poses as a suitor, but her ultimate objective is to eat the heart and the liver of her potential love interest.
Where did you get the inspiration for writing about a Kumiho?
For that one there, it was actually pretty close to home. Not that I have any nine-tailed foxes in my life, but when Carrick Publishing, who I've worked with before and who are absolutely wonderful, they did a call out for In the Spirit of 13. So I started thinking of various legends and folklore, and their interpretation of spirits was actually quite broad. But my wife is Korean, and their culture is rich in all sorts of folk tales and things like that. So I started researching, but as soon as I started reading about the Kumiho, I was just intrigued on the possibilities. And the story sort of gave an opportunity to mix a traditional mystery with a little bit of, I'd almost say, and I'm kind of dating myself, a little bit of the supernatural. Like there used to be an old TV show when I was growing up called Coal Shack, and where there was, was that a vampire? Was this really a supernatural? And I thought I could play around with this. Is this someone's imagination, or is it really a Kumiho come to life somehow?
I guess X-Files did the same thing. That's maybe I'm
Exactly.
dating myself for that reference too nowadays.
No, exactly. Perfect reference.
As you say that with the supernatural elements and stuff, the story still is a noir mystery, right? Like,
yes.
Fundamentally.
Yeah, very, very much. It doesn't. It might stray a little bit from the traditional boundaries, but it's very firmly grounded. And I tend to write more in the sort of hard-boiled noir kind of style. It's definitely not a cozy. It's a very more grounded in sort of a street sense of a traditional mystery.
I've read a few of your stories, and you have, I'm not even sure if it's a recurring character, but it kind of reminds me of like the Clint Eastwood cowboy with no name. You've got like the PI with no name that seems to be the same person, but I'm not 100% sure. Is this character revisiting us in this book, or in this story rather?
Yes, it is the same character. I never deliberately call it out, and the character is actually unique to my short stories. I am working on a longer work in progress, which has a very specifically named character, where in the short stories, the figure is anonymous. The protagonist doesn't have a name. But to your point, that was a great insight. If you read these stories, there is a lot of similarities, and it is the same character.
The character in this one does have reoccurring, or I assume reoccurring relationships with different people, like the police officer and some other people. Are they reoccurring characters, or are they all different?
They're occasionally a little bit of a recurring character, but not consistently. What I tend to do, if the story feels appropriate to have that recurring, that character from the past reappear again, I will have them involved. But sometimes it's a completely different character. And in To Catch a Kumiho, I doing a quick flashback here. There are no recurring characters except for the detective protagonist.
I was just speaking recently with Madeline Calway, one of your fellow Mesdames. She put a collection of short stories together, much like you, won many awards, shortlisted for many, many more. Have you ever considered putting all your short stories together and having maybe this unnamed character side by side?
That's a great idea, and I'll give you credit for that if I'm successful on that. Eventually, yes. Excuse me. I'm not quite as prolific as Madeline, and we actually just appeared at a Toronto Public Library event the other week, and she has a wealth of fantastic stories. I don't think I have quite enough for an anthology yet. I think I'm a few stories away. So, but that is something that I would consider. Not all my characters have the same protagonist, but a lot of my stories, I think, have a similar tone or a similar theme. So it would kind of lend itself to a collection.
I know for your category this year, short stories, there was, I'm not 100% sure of this, but it was probably the most submitted category, probably up there with best novel. So congratulations first off, because even being shortlisted with so many entrants. I mean, just looking at the writers included in Spirit of 13, some of the fantastic Canadian writers in the mystery genre. I've had the pleasure of interviewing many of them before. Do you think there's a sort of a resurgence to short stories? Like are maybe a younger generation maybe more attracted to the shorter work?
Excuse me, just recovering from a cold. Yeah, first of all, it's an incredible honor and pleasure to be nominated or to be shortlisted. It's, I was just, taken aback in shock and gratitude. To your point, I think there is a resurgence in short stories. I'm not too sure what's driving it. It could be generational. Excuse me. It could be generational. I think partially that people don't always have enough time to go into a full-length book. So the short stories has a lot of appeal. Certainly when I've been appearing at any public events, people say, well, anthologies are so great because you've got such a variety and you can kind of pick it up when the opportunity arises, and you get just different flavor and different, even within the Spirit of 13, while it does have that same thematic element to it, excuse me, the stories are very, very varied, are incredibly varied, and really have so many different takes on the theme of spirit. Some choose spirits as alcohol, some take spirits as seance. It's really broadly interpreted. So I think that makes it fun for the reader too.
Yeah, and I think even just last year, 3 good Canadian anthologies came out from like the Madame, Crime Writers of Canada, and Sisters, I think, put out all great anthologies. So yeah, very competitive subject, and obviously increase. I think a lot of established authors who are known for novels are trying their hand in short stories right now too.
Yeah, certainly to your point, the Crime Writers of Canada, the Cold Canadian Crime Anthology. Again, that's a great example where you sort of have a theme, but and I was privileged as well to appear in that. But you read some of my fellow authors in that, and it's just wonderful how people have interpreted and taken the theme and run off with it in all sorts of different directions. But they've all resulted in some really, really strong stories.
Well, you're not only a short story writer, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I did interview you about 5 months ago. You told me at the time your novel Flight Risk was about 75% done, and you were kind of blaming COVID. I don't think you have that excuse anymore, but maybe a cold. How's the novel coming along?
Well, just beforehand, I said jokingly, I'm at 75%. Now I'm at 76%, but I think the reality is I'm probably about 80%. I'm moving along, but one of the challenges that so many writers that I know aren't writing full time. So I do have a full-time job that can be quite time consuming, quite demanding at times. I have a 7-year-old, and I make him a big priority in my life. So it's a challenge that a lot of writers face. Really is time management, and that's why I write at when my son is doing taekwondo practice or basketball practice. I'll be there with my writing along and making notes and things like that. So you have to grab the opportunity, because there's never the ideal opportunity to write when you're in the den and sun is streaming through the window and you've got a hot cup of coffee and no one around is to disturb you. I think that happens once every 3 years or something like that. So to me, you've got to grab the opportunity to write and make a point of writing every day. And sometimes that can be very late at night, or sometimes it can be early in the morning. So,
yeah, I got that similar advice from Judy Pence-Sherlock. Write every day. Don't make excuses. Write every day, even if it's 5 minutes. I'm really bad at that. I tried, but I'm not good at it. How about you?
I'm getting better, and Judy has great insights there, and I've been lucky enough to be published in one of her anthologies. But yeah, you just have to force yourself, and it's like playing the piano or exercising. You just have to carve out the time. I can't say that I'm at a point where I'm doing it every day, but I've certainly improved, and it does make a difference, because even if you write a little bit each day, you're thinking about it constantly as well. So, if I go out, for a walk, or, before I go to bed, I'm writing in my mind. And, but the elusive trick, of course, is get what's in your mind down on pen and paper.
Yeah, I think writing's like exercise. If you do it every day, it stays in your mind and you keep working on it. Put it off for a little bit, and it's so hard to pick up again. So it's good advice from Judy. I'm glad you're keeping a little bit closer to that rule than I am.
Not always easy, but
And hopefully the next time we chat, it'll be like 95% done.
Oh, I hope so.
Or completely done.
We'll chat in 3 years. Hopefully it'll be 95% done in a lot more time.
I'm pretty sure we'll chat again. Because you do seem to write those short stories that pop up on short lists. So that's a good thing for you. Congratulations once again. And I'm going to say good luck to you, but in your category, every member was a member of Crime Writers of Canada. So I wished everyone good luck. I wish you just as much.
Great. Eric, as always, a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you.